Welcome to ByteSize Bits. Today we're breaking down key quotes from A Christmas Carol and what they mean for your GCSE English exam. Let's get started. Scrooge's attitude and transformation.
Bah, humbug!
Scrooge's catchphrase. It shows his dismissive attitude towards Christmas and his lack of joy. This phrase becomes symbolic of his character before his transformation.
Are there no prisons? Are there no workhouses?
This quote highlights Scrooge's complete lack of empathy. He believes the poor should rely on harsh institutions, reflecting real-life Victorian attitudes towards poverty.
If they would rather die, they had better do it and decrease the surplus population.
Scrooge echoes Malthusian beliefs, suggesting that the poor are a burden. Dickens uses this to criticize these cruel social attitudes, especially as Scrooge later regrets these words.
I wear the chain I forged in life.
A powerful metaphor. Marley's chains symbolize the consequences of a life driven by greed. It's a warning to Scrooge, and to us, about the dangers of selfishness.
I will honor Christmas in my heart and try to keep it all the year.
Scrooge finally understands the meaning of Christmas. This moment marks his transformation from miser to benefactor, embracing kindness and generosity.
He was solitary as an oyster.
Arguably, this is the most famous quote from A Christmas Carol. The image of the oyster is almost perfect for Scrooge at this stage in the book. Like an oyster, he keeps himself to himself, hidden beneath a hard shell that he uses to protect himself from the world. However, inside that shell, like Scrooge, the oyster is soft and vulnerable. Also, and most tellingly, given time, an oyster produces one of nature's greatest changes, that of creating pearls out of sand. Scrooge, like an oyster, has great potential, and Dickens reminds us of this during the opening of the book.
He was as hard and sharp as flint.
Scrooge is tough, there's no two ways around it. He's hard, and a life spent alone will certainly make you that. But hard things are also unbending, stubborn, and become easily stuck in a single purpose. He isn't flexible or capable of change. He's rigid. The sharpness also suggests that he's dangerous and can hurt you if you get too close or handle him without care. But someone who is sharp is also smart, quick-witted, and intelligent. And this is something Scrooge clearly is, as well. Flint is an interesting comparison. It's a rock which is cold and tough, but it was also quite useful to ancient societies who used it to make hunting weapons. Again, it is a reference to Scrooge being dangerous if he's not dealt with very carefully.
External heat and cold had little influence on Scrooge.
Throughout this opening description, Scrooge is often described by comparing him to weather. Temperature is the most common. He is cold. Here, though, Dickens writes that external heat and cold had little influence on him. And although this is probably true literally, he doesn't really heat his office or his house, it is also true figuratively. Other people's behavior, be they warm or cold, has no effect on him. You can be nice to him and he won't care, or you can be horrible, and again he won't care. This image both continues the theme of temperature and emotional states and highlights how solitary Scrooge is.
I don't make merry myself at Christmas, and I can't afford to make idle people merry.
Here Scrooge makes two things very clear. He doesn't like Christmas, and so he doesn't see why he should pay for other people to enjoy it. Crucially, this shows that Scrooge isn't a skinflint because he hoards his wealth to use for his own pleasure, since he doesn't enjoy anything, and that he sees a direct correlation between material expense and happiness. He sees everything in material terms. There is an expense to making merry that he can't afford. Also, his use of the adjective idle highlights Scrooge's deep capitalist leanings. If they haven't the money to afford it themselves, then they must be lazy. The idea that poverty breeds poverty has never occurred to him.
What right have you to be dismal? You're rich enough. What reason have you to be merry? You're poor enough.
In this brief exchange between Fred and Scrooge, we can see just how different their perceptions of the relationship between happiness and poverty was. Scrooge can't see how anyone can be happy unless they're rich enough, and Fred was reasonably wealthy, remember? While Fred can't see how someone with all Scrooge's wealth can be dismal, the reason, it seems clear to Fred, is that Scrooge's wealth is not making him happy, and Fred, as he reveals in Stave 3, pities him for it.
If that spirit goes not forth in life, it is condemned to do so after death.
Here Jacob Marley confirms Dickens's fictional theory for what happens after death. If we do not travel amongst people during life, we are condemned to do so once we've died. Neither Marley nor Dickens elaborate on who actually condemns us, but the idea is simple. Dickens believed that humans were deeply social creatures, as though socializing was as important to us as food or water, and that if we didn't share our experience, then something within us died. At the heart of this book is Dickens' encouragement that we all share our world, and that we'll enjoy ourselves much more if we do. And that's a few of the key quotes relating to Scrooge's attitude and transformation in this bite-size bits section. These quotes are key to understanding A Christmas Carol and its themes of social responsibility, redemption, and kindness. Remember to use them in your essays to impress examiners.